let's see how you did. For number 9, the first thing you should notice is that it was not in the correct order. Okay. So first thing I would do is put in the correct order. Negative 12x to the 5th plus 18x to the 4th plus 30x cubed. The next thing we need to notice is that the leading term is negative. So it means I'm going to be taking out a negative term. What it might be, don't know. So looking at 12, 18, and 30, the greatest common factor between those would be 6. So I'm going to take out a factor of negative 6. Then I look at my variables, x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd. So I'm going to take out x to the 3rd, which will leave me with 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. Sorry, I kind of ran out of room here. And that would be my answer for number 9. Now, number 10, throw in some multiple variables there. See how you did. Okay, so first thing, thinking about order, thinking about degrees, this is not written in the right order. Okay. Okay, why is it not in the correct order? Well, this term has a power of 3, remember, the little imaginary 1. And this has a factor of, or power of 5. So technically this should be written as 300 x squared y cubed minus 500 xy squared. Then we look at what's common between the terms. Okay, well, between 300 and negative 500, the greatest common factor between that would be 100. Now let's look at the variables. So you have x squared and x, and you have y cubed and y squared. So you're going to take bits and pieces of both parts. So between the variables, the smallest x variable would just be x. The smallest y variable would be y squared. So the GCF for this problem is 100xy squared. Then what would be left over? Well, 300, take away a factor of 100, would be 3. X squared, take away x, would be x. Y cubed, take away y squared, would be y. Then the next one, negative 500, take away a factor of 100 would be negative 5. If I take away x from x, there's nothing left. If I take away y squared from y squared, there's nothing left. So we get 100xy squared times 3xy minus 5. Now again, notice when you take out a variable, that last term no longer has a variable. We took out a variable all the way starting at 4, and that last term never ends up with a variable. That's because you're taking out the entire variable because it's the smallest one. Okay. So that's how we do number 10. Now let's try number 11. $30x squared y plus 23 AB minus 41m cubed. Well, what is common? So between 30, 23, and 41, or negative 41, what can be in common? Well, actually, nothing's in common with those numbers. Okay, a couple of them are prime. Now with the variables, can I take anything that's common from all three terms? No. So therefore, what is the word we use when we can't factor something? We use the word prime. Prime is a word we use in reference to something that is not factorable. Okay, so if you cannot factor the answer is prime. And that just simply means that there's nothing that could simplify it. It's as simplified as it could possibly be because there's nothing that is common between the information that you were given. So if you cannot factor something, the answer is prime. Now, this does come up, but it does not come up often. So do not assume that most of your answers are prime. You will have a couple primes, but prime is only really used every so often, not a very common answer. So now we're going to move on to our factoring by grouping, okay, which we'll start with the next video.